Hey guys, this is Slates and Koffee. Once again, we are back with another episode of Appropriation. But first and foremost, we are your hosts, Toy Mason, Tequoia, and Nneka. We are here. We are back. So sit back and take a sip. But first, we would like to thank our affiliates that we have. We got a Buzzsprout, got Instacart, we got Curious Elixirs, we got POPL, Thrive Market, and I believe that's it. But again, if you want to look down below, you'll see all of their links. You can go to our website, www.slatesandkoffee.co, and look them up, get a discount code. Today's going to be a great day. We are going to be talking about appropriation in the industry. And this can go a little bit far, really deep into it. So it's basically on the importance of telling our own stories. Why is it so important? How is it important for us to take back the narrative? We were created telling our stories. I remember like in the 1800s when we came over here, African Americans or Africans, that's how we released stress. That's how we thrived off of each other. So it's important for us to tell our stories because, once it can get entangled in changing the narrative and history is forgotten. And if you don't have history, then the new generation doesn't really know where to start and people will tell who they are. What happened?
Hi. Hey.
Hey, Kasey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How is everybody?
We are
Great.
wonderful.
We're good. So great to see you again.
I know, it's so good to see you too. We're matching. We're wearing yellow.
Yes, because we knew. Awesome. Oh, real quick, I have a question. Is it Kasey Inez or Kasey Inez?
It's Inez.
Inez.
But like people who are like Hispanic or like when you say it in like a Spanish accent, it's Inez.
Inez. So, okay. That's so funny. My mind is thinking Inez as well.
Yeah. It's either or, really.
It's dependent on the accent.
Yeah, depending on the accent, but it is Inez. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Toy, take it away.
All right, we want to explain a little bit about Kasey. Kasey, so explain a little bit to us about who you are, what you've done, any projects you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm Kasey Inez. I've been working in the industry almost 10 years now. And I have a recent project that is coming out soon called Summer of Violence. And I play the lead role of Naomi, and it's directed by Nikki Michaud. So yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited for it to come out. So
yes. So we were discussing a little bit about our topic today is appropriation and the importance on telling our stories. Why do you think what the importance on telling our stories?
Oh, I think it's very important because we want to be able to, relate and like show everyone's experiences. It's kind of hard for like a man that is not of our color to go in and talk about how a Black woman was raised, you know what I mean? So it's really just about the truth. It's important for us to write our own stories because we need the truth, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think that telling our narrative has been shifted?
Absolutely, because we have so many Black creatives coming into the game now. So it is shifting. It could be better. I mean, we are in 2023 and it could be better, but we're getting more stories. I'm watching more movies now and TV shows that are like just like it relates to me and my situation so much, and like in my childhood so much. So it's very important that, it's great that we're getting more Black writers, we're getting more Black showrunners, storytellers, all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you think, like, down the line that shifted? Like, we always told our stories. So, and as many Blacks that there are and filmmakers there are in Hollywood, like, why do you think that didn't want to come to the forefront? Like, why do you think that was blocked from Blacks telling their stories? Because we got 12 Years a Slave, even Spielberg, although that was a Black writer, Alice Walker, that did Color Purple, that still was a, you know, someone of the non-Black race that did the story or directed it, which he did an amazing job, like an amazing job.
Absolutely.
But why do you think that Hollywood tries to block us from telling our story?
I mean, it's almost like they don't want us to succeed almost. You know what I mean? Like, because when we are able to tell our own stories and it has nothing to do with race, like, it's so powerful. And I feel like I don't know, I don't want to say that they don't want us to, you know, get up there, but it's a power thing, I think, for me. Like, it's really just a power thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to speak to that real quick because I think of it's low-key embarrassing. I've already been made fun of, y'all. So I've been through this grind, but like I grew up in a predominantly white area for most of my life. So I was never really introduced to Black films. I'm also Nigerian, so I knew like Nigerian movies, Nigerian culture. So when I started watching more Black movies and televisions, it was kind of like a spring awakening for me. Finally being able to see things created by our people. And there was a different attachment to it, not like on purpose. It was just something like you said earlier, like, oh, this is my story. This isn't exactly what I've been through in my life, but like I resonate in a sense with their vibe and with their upbringing or whatever it may be. There's this like transcendent feeling about it. I always think about Boys in the Hood. I personally am not really into awards and whatnot, but I know that, you know, this was a bit before my awakening, if you will. I thought this was just like other movies created by white people for the most part. And I didn't know anything about it, didn't really know Spike Lee that well, but I thought it was made by a white person and that they were going to depict, you know, the hood as they love to depict the hood. You know, everyone's just hood for no reason, no basis, no foundation. But when I saw that movie, I was just so completely touched and moved. And my first thought at the end was like I said, I'm not into awards, but if this has not like been put up for awards, something's wrong. Come to find out, it was actually an Oscar nominee. But yeah, and to find out about John Singleton, rest in peace, it just has such an impact on me. And I feel like like you were saying before, it is so important to hear and see work by your own people, no matter where you're from, you know, because there's just going to be that transcendent what's the word I'm looking for? Connection to it, I feel. Without having walked that exact path, you just know where we've been, what we've been through, where we've come from, and you kind of see that eke through whatever work you're looking at. You know, Living Single, Boys in the Hood, Atlanta,
Yeah.
Awkward Black Girls, you know, it just comes out and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So much, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hearing you say that, and by you being of Nigerian descent, one of the, I guess, issues that I've heard of that have come out of Hollywood have been the Black British actors that have come over to assume American Black roles. And I have heard from both sides, both actors who are from Britain and both actors who are American, that have told very similar stories as far as their experiences trying to get roles, especially meaty roles that have a lot of acclaim attached to it. So where do you fall on that spectrum? Because in a sense, it's still appropriation. They are not American, but yet they're telling American stories. They're assuming American roles in the American culture, which is not British culture. It's not the British experience. So it's still appropriation in a sense, even though we're all Black. How do we how do we understand that and address it and make sure that all Black people of the diaspora has the opportunity to thrive in this industry while still allowing American Blacks to assume the roles that are in the American culture.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I definitely think it's a many splintered thing. I know Toy and Kasey, you were talking earlier about how Hollywood, tends to be a gatekeeper. Not always, but tends to be a gatekeeper as far as letting us, put out our work. Not so much now, but back in the day for sure. And so I definitely feel like that has a lot to do with this emergence of the British Black actor, either because they're British or whatever, or they're trained or whatever.
Because they're foreign
or cheaper, as they say, foreign actors are cheaper. And I've heard all these excuses on the internet. What?
I said, I didn't know that. I didn't know
foreign actors get paid less, which I don't know why. I would imagine this would be a merit-based pay scale, but I guess it's not. But if anything, it would be more because you got to house them too, but whatever.
I would be hot if I was European and I came over here and I got cheaper. And I'm like, over there in Europe, y'all money is not that much.
So much over here. So let me stay over here.
Let's go. And, I've seen them also do it with white actors as well. They had an emergence of British white actors too for that reason. But I've heard people claim all different reasons for why they're doing it with Black people. And for me personally, I'm Black American. I'm also Nigerian. I do feel what you're saying, and I do agree with it. I feel like, especially when it comes to African American roles, it doesn't seem much to me to let an African American person do it. That is literally their lineage. I, as a Nigerian person, I'm affected by slavery. I'm affected by the oppression in America, but not in that exact same way. I do feel like that's something that could be left to people who are of that lineage. But at the same time, I also understand being in a whole different continent, having a whole different culture and experience as a Black person, whatever the oppression they face in Europe, which is there, but maybe not in the same way we do. And they don't have the same voice that we do here. America is known for shutting it down, Praise to that, because I can't imagine. But I know on an actor's point of view, I feel like they come in like, I'm just trying to work. I'm just trying to work. And so it's so hard to really regulate and delineate who gets to do what. It's kind of like the light skin, dark skin debate. Oh, well, she should have given up her role. She's just trying to work and she's still Black at the end of the day. I know I get sometimes annoyed because it's like, I would rather a Black person of darker skin because we're usually ignored, but it's just a hard thing to really tell someone to do. I just kind of low-key remove myself from it. I think of what I would do in this situation and go like, as Nigerian, I wouldn't feel appropriate, literally the word, I just wouldn't feel appropriate taking on this role that I don't know about. We're acting at the end of the day, that's what everyone says. Yes, I do agree with that, but there's also just the history of it all. It's the principle. For me, you got to put that all in there. If we're just talking about acting, sure, yeah, I could go in and do it, but it's more than that. We're a society and I want to live at peace with everyone. This is just my personal opinion. But again, it's just, there's so many different factors to consider. I can't speak for all the other people who have. I'm not saying they're bad people. That's how I view it. I don't think there's any real definitive answers. It just comes down individually to where you're at in your career, what it means to you, and where the chips fall. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I don't really know what the answer would be.
What's so interesting, just going back to you saying that when they come over here, they get paid less. That's so interesting because then it makes you think about Hollywood is just not ready to pay us what we're worth.
Right.
And that's really because this is about the money, you know what I mean? The industry is really just about, it's a money game. So it's so interesting. And I'm wondering, is that why they keep bringing them over here? Because they're just simply not ready to pay us what we're worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think so. I think that's a big part of it. And also, which is crazy because they do have a different look, right? You got Idris Elba, you got the other Idris, the one from Snowfall. I can't believe
Desmond, is it Desmond Idris?
Desmond Idris. And
so sorry, Damson Idris.
Damson. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you got the one, I just looked up his name up like a couple of days ago. He played in Emily in Paris. He was the boyfriend, Alfie.
Lucien.
Lucien, there you go.
Yeah.
Lucien. Yeah.
There's
Him.
so many.
There's so many. They have
Yeah.
they have a different look, but at the same time, we have a million Black guys, African Americans, that look just like them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're in acting school. They're studying theater. They're in NYU. They're UCLA, USC, all these big name schools. But yet, when it comes down to the politics and the money, they're going over to the UK and they're picking them up. And I feel like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Something new every day. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Idris Elba. He's actually opening up a acting school, art film school in Ghana.
Mhm.
So
is that why he was there?
Yeah. Well, I think
I
it was
saw a
something
picture.
else. Yeah, but I think that's part of it. Yeah. I feel that's amazing. Those countries do need the correct training. There's so much talent over there. I mean, even Africans, we're known to storytell, and we don't have the resources to train us up. And they come, some of them that come over here, they have to get, low paying jobs. So to be trained on the techniques of film and then come over here and you can actually get a good paying job, that's like hallelujah. Like that's a huge blessing.
But I also think that because Nollywood, the storytelling mechanism is completely different from the westernized Hollywood system. So the fact that Idris is building up the Ghanaian film industry, and I'm assuming that he's going to build it up with a Ghanaian sense of creativity and not try to westernize it. That is important because the Nollywood industry is huge, absolutely huge. South African film industry is huge. So the more opportunities that exist on the continent of Africa allows more variations in African indigenous storytelling, and which is completely different from Black American storytelling, Atlanta storytelling, Black Hollywood storytelling is completely different. But I think that we need that diversity so that we can show that Black is not a monolith, and that the way that we tell stories is just as important in the diversity as it is the culture that we all come from, our various cultures. So I certainly hope that the system grows and expands and becomes as massive as Nollywood, and the continent can be recognized for producing creative talent, and that is homegrown, and that we don't try to compare what we do here to what they're doing over there, but we appreciate our differences, and that we grow from there.
I don't think so. I mean, that's just like adapting an idea from China and then you bring it over here and you make it way better, right? We never seen the original form, which is probably like, and then we adapt it. We take that project, or we take that, whatever it is, kind of like the Ring doorbell. The Ring doorbell started off in Japan, and then we take it and we blew it up into something amazing, right? I'm with you, Tequoia. I hope they do take even Black Hollywood or Hollywood over here, and with Idris's experiences and whoever he's going to add to that team to help build out Nollywood, they take it and they bring it to a whole nother level. Because with our experiences in the States, we are more accessible to old Hollywood, modern technology Hollywood, digital. So take that and make it something great. I mean, shoot, in a minute, we don't keep getting roles and jobs. We're going to be over there in Nigeria or Ghana getting jobs.
I mean,
we're going to be the foreigners.
I understand what, I just don't, and I'm really careful when I go to other countries, like when I stayed in Santo Domingo for about a month, and I realized just how American I was. I didn't know that I was American. I mean, I'm American, but I didn't realize how American I was until I went to another country. And then I was like, oh my God, yeah, I am so American, because the way that they did things over there was completely foreign to me. And I had to refrain myself from imposing my culture on them, to correct them. Oh, you shouldn't do it that way because that's not the right way. Who the hell says that's the right way? So I really, really I don't want the way that we do things here in America to influence how they are already doing it over there. Yeah, I want them to grow and have financial capital to expand their industry, but I don't want them to become westernized. I really don't.
Or
Because
it could be like a situation where you're kind of picking the best parts of each one. Or is that what you're worried about as well, or just like too much of?
No, I get what she's saying, because there is a African reality show on Netflix, right? It's like the Love and Hip Hop of Africa.
Yeah.
And I seen it. I was like, let me give it a chance, because I'm really, let me give it a chance.
Yeah.
So I watched it and I'm like, no, I don't know how it is over there, but I seen the great weaves and the thick makeup and the drama and the bling bling and the cars. And I'm like, no, don't do what we do.
Exactly.
So
you get it.
He said the same thing. My husband was like, they are thinking that they have to live the way we lived because it's acceptable, it's fun, and we're a bad influence. We're like the redheaded stepchild. Like, don't do what we do.
Yeah,
we are still trying to figure us out.
Yeah, I do think they have a great system in place over there that they can just build off of, because I'm seeing more and more Nollywood movies on Netflix and TV shows on Netflix and everything. Yeah, but that's so crazy. I'm gonna have to check out that TV show.
Although, to be fair, I think the westernized culture, that was happening anyway. Like, I went to Nigeria as a baby almost every summer, and it was one thing, and then the internet became a thing, and my last couple of times they were pretty much conditioned. Not like in a negative way. I mean, that happens all over the world, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily because of, I mean, I guess it's all interloping, media, internet, but I think as long as we have access to other areas of the world through the internet, through TV, there's going to be sharing of culture no matter what. Like, they've been wearing that stuff for a while. And it was interesting to me too, because I'm like, I couldn't go to market without a skirt on, and now y'all are wearing weaves and wigs and eyelashes. Yeah.
Oh,
so when does sharing of culture cross the line into appropriation? Where's that line drawn at?
You know how I look at Africans and African Americans? I'm gonna go back to slavery and the ship, right? It's like we were the children that got, into foster care, and our peoples are left behind. And now that we have the westernized education and upbringing, I feel like it's a Sankofa movement to go back and help those out. So I don't know if it's a cross culture thing, but at least to pull them forward. It's kind of like that child that discovers theirself and their identity finally. Now you can go back to where your ancestors were, and you can kind of help them. Like, you don't have to copy other people. Find your identity. Like, we want to be more like you, because you're still rooted, you're still grounded, you're in the motherland still. We had to be slaved away and mixed up and confused, and you're still at home. So I think even more is if it's like us just teaching them to grow, to grow into your own? I don't know.
Well, I think that they have everything that they need over there. They need to stop looking at us as the pinnacle, as the model, because we don't have it right.
No.
We don't.
Yeah. But if you have a loss of identity, you're going to look over the fence at the others. If you're strong and stapled in who you are, you don't have to look at others and look to be more like them. You have to know who you are and grow from there.
I
Right?
think the other part too, because like you were saying, Tequoia, you know, we don't have all the answers, or even forget having answers or not. Bottom line is what we're doing is what our version of this field is. And that's going to be different no matter what country you go to. But there is an extra brand to Hollywood where they make it seem, you know, glamorous and there's opulence. So like obviously people looking onto it are going to have this thought. I mean, it's an individual thought that maybe that is something to achieve. Maybe that is the standard, especially since Hollywood is the biggest market in the world. So whether you agree with it or not, it's still the money maker. So it's like, what is their system that we can either copy in entirety or, you know, pick the good aspects from it. And I think even more so than the industry itself, because you were asking earlier, like, where do we draw the line with appropriation? So like even beyond, you know, Black appropriation, like any sort of cultural appropriation, I think there's two like aspects to it. There's the one that to some degree, I won't say it can't be regulated, but has to be considered is, like I said, with the growing advancements we have in technology with internet and everyone having access to whatever, there's an appreciation in general for other cultures. You know, there's a ton of people who love Japanese culture, you know, which kind of leads me to my other aspect too, the culture that is being appropriated, you know, what do they think about it? Some of them don't mind. Some of them don't care. And we got to remember not to weep more than to bereave. If they're chilling, let's not bring up the axe for them. But at the same time, you'll see another group who does care. And that's fine. That's valid too. Because I know when we think about Black appropriation, we're also thinking about how we were treated when we did certain things versus when other people did. We're thinking about our history, like beyond, you know, Black American history, and all that stuff comes into play when we think about things that have been appropriated about our culture and what that means to us and how people just kind of take it off versus us who just live with it. So there's so many different things to think about. I think like a lot of things in life, it's not black and white. There's no real fine line. It's just kind of read the room. I think it comes down to an individual situation where, am I being told this is good or bad? And then the person telling me, are they a part of that group? Then let me just be respectful. Let me just be respectful and just say, okay, my bad, and appreciate it, you know, but then understand, hear from them what makes it appropriation and then make the change. It's going to be a hard decision, I think.
But you made a really good point, though. One group will say that it's okay. And then within that same culture, another group could say, no, that's not okay. Yeah. So it's like, well, how does someone who is like, say, a white person that wants to appreciate a culture and may do something, how do they maneuver life in appreciation when it's like a minefield where some people may have a problem with it and others may not?
I mean, ideally, white people, Caucasians, European Americans, whatever you want to call them these days, that has been part of their quilt, their frame from the beginning of time in America. They're not like us, you know, everybody is not educated on others.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it really just comes down to like educating yourself to where it's, when it's appreciation to a point where it can get to appropriation. It's so important because there's so many people out here who are just ignorant to the fact, you know, when it comes to appropriating, like just saying like a white woman wearing box braids. and she thinks that it's cute or like it's a trend. And I get it, but we have to like educate ourselves to like, we wore box braids because it protected our hair, you know, and there's people out here who are just wearing it because they think it's, oh, it's cute, like it's trendy, like that's what's, you know, in right now, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's just, it really just boils down to like just educating yourself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I
I mean,
think,
technically, we actually wore braids to hide rice when we was on the slave ship and we came to America. We were
rice,
hiding things. We had maps.
maps,
Yeah, maps.
Cornrows,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's not a trend for us. It's a lifestyle.
It's
You know.
it's the lifestyle. It's not a trend, and I think
Right.
that's, it's so many things, like, you know, as far as hairstyles to the way like we dress, or like, that's why it's so important to educate yourself on,
Yeah.
you know, or even like other culture. Like me personally, I'm always educating myself. I started learning Spanish a few years ago, and I'm constantly educating myself on like Hispanic culture, specifically Mexican and Salvadorian culture. I'm always educating myself. And I think, but there's people out there who just don't care to, you know, educate themselves about, you know, matters like, because it really doesn't, it's not really like important to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're not viewing it in the same way that we are, that,
We are.
you
Yeah.
know, this is something that affects someone else. And I do think there's another part of this issue. I'm not saying it has to be across the board here. This is just kind of how I deal with it. Again, this could be a spectrum thing where some things can't be dealt with in this way. But I also think the response has to be taken into consideration. I know some people go up in arms and want to like cancel people, and I'm not against cancel culture. I think there's so many good things about it. But I think it's also worthwhile to remember that sometimes you just gotta let some things brush off, you know? Someone's wearing box braids. Do your part if you want to, you know, inform them about it. But if they're not trying to hear it, in my honest opinion, I just say walk away.
Exactly.
Leave that person be.
We gotta let people live at this
Let people
point.
live.
Just let people
Yeah.
live, and then sooner or later, hopefully, like if it bothers you to a point where you need to like let them know, okay, but you just really just gotta let people live.
Let
And
people live.
hopefully
So
sooner.
is Black Twitter the unofficial Black community police now?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
I mean, that's social media. People like to talk. We always have that. That's always going to be there, I think. I just, you know, on an individual level, I would just say, don't be the person, in my opinion, don't be the person who feels like they need to bring someone else down. We're in America. We have the absolute privilege to have freedom of speech and opinion. It might bother you, but if that person's wearing braids and you still get to get up in the morning and go to work, then get up in the morning and go to work. Okay, mind the business that pays you.
I'm gonna have a hard one with that because I'm usually an activist when it comes to not only Black American or women rights, but African Americans in general. So I try not to. Like my husband calls me Malcolm Farrakhan.
He calls you what?
But I do agree with you because the world is out of whack right now, and no one should include the extra stress on each other daily lives, right? Like it is good to choose and pick your fight. But if a voice that needs to be heard and said, of course, you know, without a doubt, don't be afraid to say something.
Yeah. I'll definitely say, like, on a public level, have your voice heard. And I'm like the witch hunt, I guess, you know, if it's warranted, that's on them, you know. But you don't want to let it get too out of hand. Like you said, we're kind of in a wacky period in this world. I think we're still trying to figure things out. So I guess it's just about seeing where the chips settle, and hopefully it's not going to get too weird for too long.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But, you know, it's unfortunate that all those other unfortunate incidents had to happen for Black lives to matter now in Hollywood. You know, rest in peace, every last individual that we've lost due to police brutality. But this is the time. Black story writers to continue to write your stories, to continue to let your voice be heard, to continue to use the gift that was embedded in you when you were born, as a storyteller, and get those stories out by some way, somehow, even if it's like just turning into a book that you ebook it, get the stories out, because our voices are paid to be told. There's archaeologists that are trying to discover our brains to see how they work so they can understand us, to, so just don't be silent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are going to wrap this up. This has been a great episode, a great topic that needed to be said. Without voice, there's no awareness. So if we don't bring it up, we don't bring the thoughts up and the ideas, where do we see change? And this is what platforms like this is all about. We thank you so much, Kasey, for joining us today. Where can we find you on your social medias?
I'm on Instagram at I am Kasey Inez, and yeah, I'm on TikTok as well. I think it's the same thing. I am Kasey Inez all around.
All
Awesome.
right, Kasey.
And what's the name of your the new film that you're in?
Yes, it's called Summer of Violence.
Yes, awesome. Look out for that, you guys.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much, Kasey. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Appropriation. Should we keep telling our stories? We thank you so much, you guys, for taking a sit with us and having a break, and we enjoyed you. Thanks again.
No worries.
Come on back.
Find us on YouTube and wherever you subscribe to your podcast.
Scroll down for all the links and deals and enjoy your day.